Hey, have you ever had a ghostly experience? Something you just couldn't explain, but you know it happened to you. Are you or members of your family sensitive to ghosts? Are you currently experiencing apparitions that are interrupting your good night's sleep? If so, we want to talk to you. Yes, you. So give us a call because the show is starting right now. Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host, Kelley Laughlin, and if you're surprised to see me here, just believe me, so am I. This is a live call-in show that happens every single Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we want to talk to you about what you believe and why you believe it. So you can call us at 1-512-991-9242, or through your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. Now, Truth Wanted is a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And every week we have a very special guest, and my very special guest this week is, in fact, Justin. Hi, Justin. How you doing?
Kelley, it's nice to see you. Thanks for having me over here. It's a lovely place you have.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really good to meet you. I'm really looking forward to having a great show today. So
Me too.
Now, one of the things we do every week to get started is we do our segment, We Want the Truth. And because of the, the hustle and bustle and everything that was going on last week, and honestly, I'm the one who usually gets up and does that every week. And I just forgot to mention it. So we don't have one for this week, but I do wanted to bring Scott Dickey up to do the one for next week. So let's bring Scott up.
All right.
Hey there. Yeah, we didn't get around to a question last week, but we're getting back on track this week. And so this week's question, and I want you to both to put some great deep thought into this. The question for next week is, what would Jesus's podcast be named? What would Jesus's podcast be named? So, Justin, you're our guest tonight. What would be your suggestion there?
Well, first of all, Jesus's podcast, every episode would start with a 3-day of dead silence.
Ooh.
And then it would just start, and the podcast would be called Holy Shit, It's Jesus.
Nice. Kelley, you got any thoughts on that?
I was expecting to be asking this one, so I wasn't going to think of an answer. But yeah, so, and I've been thinking ever since I found out I was going to be on the shows, but I haven't come up with a really good answer. I honestly haven't. I was trying to find something really sharp and witty, but
All right.
What do you think, Scott? Have you got one?
As the backup, I'll step in place for you here. What I was thinking is Jesus would have a podcast called Only Genocides in the Building. I don't know. For what it's worth.
Ooh.
So all of you, tell us what you think. What would Jesus's podcast be named? Make sure you put your entry down in the comments below, not in the live chat on the side. And then next week, we'll read off our 3 favorites.
I know there's going to be some good ones. I know it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I like this one.
Yeah, it is. It is a fun one. So
all right. Well, have a great show, guys. I'll kind of sit in the background here, and we'll see you later.
Okay, yeah, we'll see you before the show's over. Scott, thanks for coming up and doing that with us. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
I had a lot of fun with Scott this weekend at the Bat Cruise. So, and
is that for like Batman fans or something?
No, it's again, right? You would think, right? It's the city of Austin has the largest urban bat population, I think, in the world. So there's like 2 million bats that live underneath the bridge in Austin.
That sounds exciting. Yeah, you guys do that every year.
We do. I've only been doing it the last 3 years, but it's a lot of fun. I had a great time this year.
And when you go under the bridge, they're just all these bats just hanging underneath the bridge, or are they flying in and out? Or
there's like seams in the concrete work. and they
Okay.
come out. I don't know if it's hollow up in there or they're just hiding up in the seams, but they all come out from out of these long concrete seams underneath the bridge, and it's just amazing how many of them there are. And you would think there's a whole bunch. No, wait, there's a whole bunch more. Oh my gosh, there's even more, and they just keep coming out for a good 10 or 15 minutes. They just solid. There's just bats coming out. It's pretty amazing. There's
Sounds incredible.
think it was 1.5 or 2 million bats.
I think if I were to ever make the trip down to Austin, I might die from the heat. I don't know that I could handle it.
It's pretty hot. Yeah. I mean, I'm from up north myself, so as I mentioned before the show, I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and half the people I meet think where I live is Canada. So
yeah. Well, even I mean, you're probably even a little bit more on the extreme side of the cold compared to myself as well in Canada, because I am so far south in my province that I'm actually more south than the northern tip of California.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, so
we
get like last winter we had like 1 week of snow. I turned on my snowblower twice.
Nice. I wish I could have say that. I often tell Canadians that I'm farther north than most Canadians are. So
yeah. Well, I mean, almost the entire population of Canada lives within like 100 kilometers of the U.S. border. So
right.
Yeah.
You're all down there in the southern parts of Ontario for the most part.
Yep.
I'm I'm just south of Lake Superior, so I'm pretty far up there. So I know you have your own podcast. Let's talk about that for a minute. What do you call your podcast so everybody knows where to find you?
So the channel is called Skeptic Spinn. Generally what I would do is I would have guests on, such as like maybe I'd have you come on sometime, Kelley.
Sure, I'd love to.
I've had like John the Skeptic come on. I've had Seth Andrews on there and Godless Engineer and stuff. And what I do, or what I've done in the past anyways, is I'll fish out like 3 YouTube shorts that are quite, I don't know, triggering, if you will. And I will try to get some live reaction / debunking out of my guests for those 3 YouTube shorts. It's been a lot of fun, and it's a short little, I don't know, it's kind of game show like, which is always kind of my gimmick, right? I've been in entertainment most of my life, so I always try to find a way to make it a little bit more fun and entertaining. But I think I'm going to start pivoting the channel into more created content rather than live stream stuff. So yeah, go over to Skeptic Spinn, subscribe, and stay tuned for some fun created videos.
Now you do comedy as well, do you not?
Comedy?
Yeah.
Not professionally. No, I've been in entertainment most of my life. Yeah. So, like I'm a game designer now, but before that I was in the entertainment industry, like the stagehand, project manager type of person. So, if there was a big concert going on in the Toronto area, I was generally involved in those concerts and stuff. So I've always been on stage. I tell people I'm more comfortable in front of like 10,000 people than I am like 4 people. So yeah, but comedy, no, I've never been the entertainer as much as just the stage guy.
My bad. I thought I heard that, but both of my brain cells might have been stuck together at that point. So.
Sounds like you're the comedian.
No, I really am not. So tell me a little bit about game design. How does that work?
Well,
I know how it works, but
well, I mean, there's there was a time in video games, for example, where it was with the Wild West, right? Games, there were some weird games made, and they were always very difficult and stuff. But now there's a lot more theory involved. There's a lot more things to teach regarding game design in general. But how does it work? I mean, it's pretty straightforward for me because I know the equation, right? I know, if I'm going to put A and B here, then that means that's C is going to have to happen over there. But what I think is most fun about it, especially with when I combine it with, the atheism and doing live shows and entertainment and things like this, is that I am the real life creator of worlds, right? So everybody's God created the world. I actually create worlds. I judge people on the worlds they create because I teach the course and I like to play that angle. And then the other angle I like to play too is that for a call-in type scenario like this, I'm easy mode. If there's a theist out there that thinks they have an argument that is even halfway good, I'm your best chance to convince somebody, because I'm that guy in a Walmart who's shopping, and when the announcement comes on the speaker and they're like, "Oh, tomatoes are now, 2 for 99 cents." I stop everything and go buy tomatoes because the voice in the sky told me to. So if you can come to me right now with a good case, you might make history today, because I'm just easy.
You know what? I'm in agreement. If somebody has a really good case, give us a call. Let us hear it. I'm willing to be convinced as well. I'm probably one of the, well, no, I can get pretty confrontational if I need to be. I don't like it, but I try not to be confrontational. I'll be nice to you. I'm sure Justin will. He's been nice to me, so give us a call.
I mean, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, right. There you go.
We're bred that way. Right up until you start to get mean yourself, and then the gloves will come off and the elbows will go up. That much is for sure.
I would imagine game designing is a pretty competitive business. Is that?
I mean, the industry now even too is in serious decline as well, which is a little, I don't know. It's when you're teaching the course and you've got all these students with hopes, and some of these people, this is like a second career college, right? So they're 30, 40 years old, and they're hoping to get out on the other side of it and hopefully become a game designer with some company somewhere someday. But you got to work it, right? And people are getting laid off quite a bit, especially in game industry right now. So, but indie games are very popular. So all they have to do is go out and do the work and take the things that I teach them and produce something. It's not much different than like when we were younger, we all wanted to be rock stars, right? We all wanted to learn how to play a guitar and impress the girls and stuff. And we could go to guitar class and we could learn the keys and all of those things. But unless you practice and write songs and perform, you're never going to be a rock star, right?
I just got a question from the crew. They want to know, what are the characteristics of good design?
In general, or like for games?
You know what? I'm not sure. That was all I got. What are the characteristics of good design?
Well, okay. So one concept, for example, it's a fun word, and I like saying it because every time I say it in class, it perks up all the students right away. And it's, you got to have good weenies. Okay, and that's the technical term for it. And now, what a weenie is when a player is playing a game, you want to guide them in the right direction. Now, if you've played any modern video games, some of the older folks like myself would probably argue that games hold your hand way too much nowadays. That would be a characteristic of like not great design. A good design, a designer would put a weenie in place that would get a player's attention, cause them to come in a certain direction through the level or the map without putting up a big neon sign that's an arrow essentially saying go this way, right? An example I like to use, for instance, is Kelley, if you and I were making, let's say, a horror game, okay? And it's going to take place at midnight in the forest, right? Big, lush, green forest. And the player can go anywhere they want in the forest. So how would we guide that player through the forest to come towards the scary moments or the exciting moments of the game? Well, maybe we would create a clearing in that forest. Maybe we would add a dead tree in the middle of this otherwise healthy green forest. We would call that a weenie. That would be, if we were playing a game like that, every player here would be like, well, I'm going to go check out that over there.
Yeah, right.
So that would be a good example of good design. Bad design, I had a student once they wanted to do like a racing game, but they wanted to get crazy realistic with it to the point where they tried to code pistons to explode with petrol or fuel, physically pushing pistons and things. It's like, why are you overthinking this? Just make the wheels turn. You don't need to code an engine and a transmission, right? It's like you're way overthinking it. It can be so much simpler. So yeah, that would be an example of just poor design or bad design.
Is there? You mentioned there was like a down cycle in the business. What's causing that? Is that I know there's been a resurgence of board games. Is that part of it, or is it something else?
You could take some of the concepts that I teach and turn it into board games. In fact, I'd entertain the idea of like doing a single module, for example, on just board game, maybe even introductory. One of my mentors, Scott Rogers, who's an author of a couple of game design books, is also a board game designer, not just a video game designer. So he's one of the original designers of God of War, which is a title most people have heard of. He did Pac-Man World a long time ago and the SpongeBob games and anything like that. But he also made like the Alien board games and things like that. So yeah, I think board games are definitely, I mean, they're still popular. I'm not sure that board games ever became not popular, but I think they're less family night. Like, I don't think families are necessarily doing board game night anymore, which is unfortunate because I still do with my family. But there's definitely hobby level board game players out there, and there's some incredibly deep and crazy board games that come out all the time that are really, really fun. But I mean, if I'm gonna play a game with a group of like mega nerds, screw the board games. Let's pop out the D&D, right?
Yeah, sure, right, yeah. Yeah, that you were talking about making your own, being the creator of your own world, and as I was thinking, yeah, I love being a dungeon master in D&D because I'm God. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I mean, as far as the decline goes, I think there's some serious saturation going on. Microsoft just keeps buying everybody. And then because of that, other companies like Sony and stuff are like, well, we're going to have to buy some people too. So, because they're always struggling for exclusivity, right? Like consoles and their games, they live and die on exclusivity. So they're trying to pick up exclusivity. But then Microsoft is now going, I don't know, they're doing something really weird right now. I don't have my finger on it completely at the moment, but they're kind of exiting the console market and going with the everything market. Like, you can play Xbox on your TV. You don't need a console anymore, for example, with just Game Pass. So yeah, I don't know. And they bought Blizzard, which is unfortunate, which was a great company. And then there's companies like EA and Ubisoft that are just terrible places to work, flat out. Just gonna say that like that, right?
I know, not without mentioning the business, but my daughter was saying that was what she actually changed the major she was in college because she felt that the profession she was going into was just turning into just several corporations controlling it all, and she didn't want to work for one of them. So, but is that something like what's happening in the game industry as well?
I mean, EA has always been kind of scummy. Like, even going as far back as the original console wars between like Sega and Nintendo. Ubisoft, they might not be all that bad to work for, but they're like a game mill. They produce like 130 games a year company wide. Like, they're huge.
Wow.
In fact, I think, everybody's familiar with their more popular titles, but what I don't think a lot of people realize is they own the IP to so many things. Like, they own just about every game show IP, for example. So if you want a Wheel of Fortune game or a Family Feud game, it's going to be Ubisoft. And one of their biggest titles would probably surprise most people. It's the Dance Dance games. They sell them for $20 and they release a new one every year. But it's the same game, just with new music.
Yeah, right.
So it's just a great cash cow. They just could program a couple new songs in, boom, send the same game out, change the date on the box, $20. I'm on that side of the fence, so in a way it's kind of brilliant. It's like, good for you, but at the same time, it's like, you're selling the same game every year when, they could have just sold a $2 update patch or something to it.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So I just want to remind everybody that this is a call-in show, so we would appreciate if you'd call us in. I'd love to talk to you about ghosts myself. I had a long conversation with somebody online today about UFOs and why they think that there's a conspiracy to cover it up. I'd love to talk about that if you'd like to as well. Go ahead and give us a call. I actually really would love a conspiracy theory call. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the ghost calls are always fun. There's a tunnel here where I live that we used to go visit as teenagers, where it was always the challenge to how deep you could get into the tunnel, and everybody always swore when they got back out of the tunnel they could hear someone screaming, and they would come out with scratches on their arms, and it was all this this crazy myth of this tunnel. No one ever saw the end of it because you would start hearing screams.
That's great.
I never had the guts. I was like, I'll wait here. You guys let me know how it went.
I've been inside of a haunted cave, but nothing happened. It was a cave and rock in southern Illinois. It's river pirates actually occupied it for a while. So people have actually been murdered in the cave, but
wow.
nothing happened to me while I was there.
Crazy.
They used to keep a big sign above the cave mouth that said "Welcome." So when settlers were moving westward down the Ohio River, they thought it would be a safe place to spend the night. It's pretty good scam actually when you think about it.
So your love for like talking about ghost stories and things of that sort, then I would guess then are you big on scary movies and things of that sort as well?
No, not really. I've never been much of a horror movie fan or a scary movie fan, honestly, to tell you the truth. Is that weird? I don't know. My daughter loves them. But no, I've never been a big fan of them. I mean, I'll sit and watch them. I just would, like, if I had my choice of 3 different movies to go watch at the theater and that was one of them, I'd probably pick a comedy or an adventure movie instead. So,
I mean, I guess that's not that weird because if you like talking about them, my guess would be you're usually trying to take the position of, what happened to you is not a ghost. Something else happened to you. So if you were watching a scary ghost movie, you'd probably would just be thinking about it from the point of view of, well, this is clearly not real or it's not believable or whatever.
What about you? Have you ever had any of those weird experiences that people might say was a ghost or think was a ghost?
No, I've never bought into the whole ghost story thing. I mean, the only real ghost story I kind of have is there was a TV show here in Canada called Kenny versus Spenny. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they're basically just 2 best friends that they would do the classic like competition bet with their best friend. Anything that we would have ever done as younger lads with our buddies. The only difference is they take it to a little bit of the extreme level. And there was one particular episode where the competition was who can spend the night in a haunted house. And I'm familiar with the house. And it was really, really funny because the one guy on the show will always do everything he can to get the other guy to give up or quit. And the other guy knows that's going to happen. So he handcuffs himself to the radiator. And so now the other buddy is like, he's putting up candles and pentagrams and he's making all kinds of ghost noises. And the guy is so scared to death, but he can't go anywhere. He's handcuffed to a radiator. And suddenly a loud crash happens. And everybody runs out of the house. The camera crew, everybody leaves, except the one guy still in the house, handcuffed to the radiator. And it turned out what happened was the crane next door for the new construction site had fallen over.
Nice.
But yeah, it was super, super entertaining to hear that story. No, personal ghost stories, I don't really have any.
No?
I've been to some haunted houses. I mean, I live in Niagara, so there's some pretty popular haunted houses down here. And my dad took us to one once, and there's the whole rule where if you said the word nightmare, they turn the lights on and come let you out, right? So if you got too scared.
No, I don't. I never heard that one.
Yeah,
now, this is going to sound really weird and coincidental, but I live right across the river from Niagara.
Oh, wow, okay.
The same Niagara and the same river.
Take a swim someday. Come visit.
Yeah, there you go. You know, TP Seeker in the chat said, "What? There's no UFO sightings in Canada?"
Well, Canada actually has a UFO landing site in Alberta. They built a landing pad. So if there's any UFOs planning to come, if there's any UFOs within the sound of my voice, there's a spot for you to park in Alberta. Just come on, land. It's all ready for you. It's literally just giant concrete raised platform that they built as like a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
There's a time capsule they buried there with the intention of like opening up the time capsule like 2063 or something. They're going to open it. So yeah, that'll be fun. But am I aware of any UFO sightings? No. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube videos about the UFOs, but I always watch from the point of view of debunked, right? Being a game designer, I'm into graphic design and stuff as well, and 3D graphics and things. So I'm always looking for the how did they do it, not is this real? Like I start with the it's not real, and then it goes into the how would you do this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to if you're going to show me something like that, show me how either it was done or how it could have been done, and right. Scott Dickey, who was our backup host tonight, is a math teacher, and one of the things just from hanging out around him, I will often ask people like in a text conversation, I'll put up the math question 2 + 3 = 5, and then rewrite it with words. So like let's say young Earth plus what? Your question mark equals God. What's the question mark? Fill in that question mark for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, breaking it down into a math problem like that with some people really helps and kind of lets them show that they don't really know what they're talking about a lot of the time. So
I find that a lot of those like young Earth creationist types, they find their one argument and they specialize in that alone. And they hang on to that like a dog with a chew toy. They don't let go of it. And those are always, you know, if you ask them, what's your proof for a young Earth? They bring up that argument, right? Like I heard one today involving the idea that, or it's not the idea, but apparently there's 2 cold spots as you get closer to the Earth's core. And this guy was going on, well, if these spots aren't molten and melted by now, then that means that they haven't been there very long and therefore young Earth. And it's just like, well, no, how long it would take for like a chunk of rock like that to get to temperature to become molten, you know, and not to mention the time it takes for that slab of rock to get down to that level, right? Mm-hmm. Like for Earth to constantly overlap and push rock down, that's a billion years right there.
Right. At the edges of the plates. Yeah.
Yeah. But this person was taking that to mean like, oh no, but it's been there and it's not molten yet, so young Earth. And I'll bet you I could probably find the same person 6 or 7 other videos with the same argument being like, this is my argument for young Earth. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing. And then they'll throw all kinds of like big words in there to confuse you in technical terms that you know they don't understand what those words mean, but they read it somewhere. And then they'll quote mine some young Earth creationist scientist, you know.
Yeah, right.
This particular guy was even going on about how he was published and it's peer reviewed. And it's like, oh yeah, and in what page, where were you published? And it's like PragerU. And it's like, come on. Like, you're not serious.
Yeah. And I've noticed with a lot of those people too, you can actually show them actual real scientific evidence and they'll just either ignore it or deny it. So there's just nothing you can do with somebody who is so bought into something like that. And it's just, you know, it's human nature. If I buy into something like that, I'm not going to admit in front of everybody that I've been wrong. It's just something that we're not going to do. So, you know,
yeah.
I try not to argue with them about it, but it maybe, you know, ask them a few questions that maybe help make them think for the rest of the week that, you know, maybe I don't have an answer to that question. So that's what I hopefully can do is work on bad thinking altogether. We do have a couple of calls that are coming in. They're being screened right now. Okay. Before we get the calls though, I did want to thank our every week, my brain cells got stuck together again. Every week, we thank one of our patrons over on Patreon. Toy boat. Okay, I think I can do it now. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to thank one of our Patreons. And this week, our random Patreon is... Here it comes, Jonathan Roudabush. Hey, I know that guy. I was just hanging out with him last weekend. So thanks, Jonathan, and thanks to every other one of our patrons on Patreon. We really appreciate it. And if you would like to help us by donating on Patreon, you can too at tiny.cc/PatreonTW. So yeah, thank you very much. And
Awesome.
now
Thanks,
I
Jonathan.
think it is hopefully, time that we can take one of these calls. What do we got here? Are we ready? I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There looks like they might still be screened. No, I think we can get Nick here.
Okay.
So we got Nick Leiston. He wants to talk about veganism.
Oh, cool.
Well, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. Hi, Nick. How you
Hello?
doing?
Hi, Nick.
Hi, you can
Hi.
hear me? I've never tried this.
Yeah, I
before.
can hear you.
Cool. Great.
Yeah,
Great.
I've got
Okay,
it
cool
says
deal.
here, can
All
a
right, thank
decent
you for taking my
person
call.
take the lives of a vulnerable, love-capable beings with their only end being taste, pleasure, habit, and convenience?
Yep, that's it.
Is that your question?
Yeah, I mean, I there's a typo there. There shouldn't be an A before vulnerable, but other than that, that's it. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I assume you're a vegan.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, so...
Well, yeah, or
Is
that I'm not
what-
a decent person, or I don't think I'm a decent person. But no, I've been a vegan for 30 years, and I also don't think I'm really a decent person. So you can feel like you're not a decent person and be a vegan, but you can't not be a vegan and seriously consider yourself a decent person.
You could consider yourself or feel like one, right? Still, maybe somebody else might not consider you one, but you yourself might not feel bad about it.
Oh yeah. No, I kind of feel like there's something like deep down that would tell us that we're doing something wrong, even if we may not be conscious of it. Kind of like a deep down feeling.
I'm not sure that happens with everybody. I'm really not. But I maybe it's something that should happen with everybody. I have always thought that everybody who eats meat should have to kill and clean an animal at least once in their life.
Oh, wow.
So to understand
Yeah,
what it is that you're what you're eating. So
the problem is that like you might have like a serial killer like Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like, well, you better kill a human if you're willing to do it. If you're willing to eat them, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're.
But I'm just saying an animal, I'm not just saying an animal. Like even if it's just a bluegill, just a small fish that you're going to eat. I just think that everybody should have to do it at least once. I'm not saying people should go out and start being serial killing to eat humans. But
I'm just saying
I think everybody should understand the process behind causing death and preparing an animal for food.
Right. No, I understand that. I just don't know if it's necessarily a good thing for people to sensitize themselves to such a degree that they can do these horrible things. Maybe it's better for people to kind of do it without actually realizing the harm they're doing.
Right? From my experience, from people doing it, a lot of people get just the opposite. Like, wow, I don't realize how horrible and nasty this is until I actually did it, got my hands in it. So that's why one of the reasons I think people should have to do it, because it brings that realization to you. And I don't see a lot of satisfaction coming out of it from the people doing it, honestly. So
that's a good point.
But I don't know,
right.
You're having a different experience than I am.
No, I think that's a good point. I think it's nice. I mean, the problem is that it's still encouraging someone to do this violent action as opposed to just directly saying, look at some of this footage, see how horrible it is, and then just stop doing it, man. Like, you don't have to try to see if you would actually be willing to harden your heart enough to do it yourself. And yeah, maybe that will cause some people to go vegan because they just can't do it. But a lot of people might push themselves through it and do something really, really bad, and then have to like suppress all that guilt inside themselves until they explode. I mean, it's better just to give it up.
Oh, then maybe
Very easy, you know?
that's you're like bolstering my point. If that's the way you feel about it after having done something like that, then maybe you shouldn't be eating meat. You know, and I think a lot of people come away from that experience that way. I personally am not a vegan. I'm a kind of like a semi-vegetarian, you know, so I'm doing it for health reasons, not for moral reasons. So obviously, because I'm not a vegan. But I think I honestly think if you're going to eat meat, you should have to know that that's what it takes. That it's this horrible, bloody, violent, nasty thing that is putting meat on your plate. It's not a question of self-satisfaction. It's a question of demonstrating what a horrible, violent act it is.
So why aren't you? I mean, I am really curious. Like, given the fact that you know how horribly violent it is. And I assume you also know that you could be totally healthy on a plant-based diet. What could possibly you be using to justify participating in something you know is so violent?
I have different moral standards than you do, for one. I think life is life. No matter what life it is, we shouldn't be destroying it if we don't have to. And I don't draw the line between sentient life and non-sentient life. I'm not even sure where we draw that line. You know, so, right, you know, it's sort of like a Loki's wager kind of thing. You know, you can have all the head, but none of the neck. So I feel like if we have to kill something to live, we just have to deal with that. I feel just as bad about killing a carrot as I do about killing a fish. So,
I mean,
you can laugh, but that's the way I feel about it. I think it's just the same.
Do you have any pets? Like dogs or cats, like companion animals?
No, I don't.
Or well,
I have a Great Dane.
Family, right? Well, I mean, if like a fireman came into your house and saw that there were like 3 house plants, and he chose to like save the 3 house plants over, let's say, you know, your son and your dog, and then you're like, why did you could have taken, you know, saved my son and my dog? Why did you save these 3 house plants? And it's like, well, look, I think that all life is the same, you know, plant life, animal life. So I saved 3 lives. Like, what do you want? I saved more lives. And I think that's kind of a morally sketchy.
I don't think Kelley was trying to say that he had like a living creature or a vegetable on the same level. He said he feels just as bad about killing a fish as he does eating a carrot. In other words, it's not a problem. It doesn't bother him, is what I think is what he meant.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that the house plants' lives are more important than the humans' lives. I don't think a dog's life is more important than a human's life. I don't think the house plant's life is more important than the dog's life. I mean, we all have our preferences, right? I just try not to draw those preferential lines. That's all. You can go in the opposite direction, because when I say this, almost all vegans do. You want to talk about cannibalism now? Because that's the other direction this conversation usually goes with, with me and vegans.
I consider myself the furthest thing from even a vegetarian, never mind a vegan. You'll have to fight me to get to eat a vegetable most times. Outside of potatoes, that's pretty much the only thing. I like Indian food, for example, because it's just a big bowl of meat and sauce and bread. Now, I'm going to just take the selfish side of it and say, look, I'm older. This was how I was raised, and I'm going to my grave eating meat, and there's nothing that's going to make me really change my mind on that. However, I would fight for your right to be vegan for as long as I possibly could. I even think that vegetarianism is almost a certainty in the future of mankind, at least. Veganism, I feel, is a little extreme. It's a little much, but vegetarianism, even my own nephew, who's 10 years old now, there's certain meats that he's just like, nah, I'm good. And I think it's only a matter of time before, our great grandchildren are going to be like, this is a cow, I'm not eating that. And I think that's just the way the world's going to go. And it also just becomes easier too, right? Because you're a vegan, so I don't have to tell you. You have to watch and monitor your diet, everything you're eating all the time to make sure that you're getting the vitamins you need. And it's a lot of work to be a vegan, but as technology and science advances, we'll add more things to our carrots and oranges to get protein and things like that we need. And yeah, I can see a world that goes vegetarian at the very least. I mean, I live in a country of 40 million people. 1 million of them are vegetarian. And there's a vegetarian item on every menu in my country. So yeah, I think it's a very real prospect.
Now, I already brought up cannibalism at the beginning when I brought up Jeffrey Dahmer, so we've already kind of covered that.
Oh, sorry.
But no, I was just joking. Like I did bring up cannibalism actually.
That's cool.
But yeah, I just think that like when it comes to like if we look at ourselves, look kind of like the worst actions that we could possibly do, I would say it would probably be somewhere along the lines of taking advantage of a position of power to oppress a group of individuals that can't speak for themselves, that are totally vulnerable, and oppressing them to such a degree that more animals are killed, more birds and mammals who are all capable of love are killed in the span of a single week than every human in the entire planet. Like every month, there's multiple. If they were all humans, it would be, and we're on billions, almost 100 billion every year. That doesn't include the fish. So it just seems to me like if we really wanted to if we really want to eliminate the worst thing that we can do in our lives, it would be starting with being, with not participating in purchasing animal products. And I think that,
Right.
And that's why I said, like, how can anyone really consider themselves a decent person if they're not willing to at least do that, especially in the modern time when it's so easy to eat and thrive and find tons of different variety on a completely plant-based diet? Like, what could possibly justify it? I guess that's
terrible. What's so terrible about like cheese and dairy, just in general speaking? Just curiosity, like,
well,
why vegan?
So you're still paying for it's a categorical difference between paying for a violent, lethal exploitation of an animal or not. And the dairy industry definitely is on the side of paying for a lethal, violent exploitation of an animal. I mean, I'm a veterinarian. I actually spent my clinical year working a lot of dairy farms, so I can tell you firsthand that that we would come into the dairy farm and look at their charts, and the moment their cow's milk production started decreasing around the third or fourth pregnancy, we'd take a red marker and just put an X through it, and that animal would go to the slaughterhouse. Like, that's her reward for having her baby stolen from her, and if they're male, killed year after year to keep her in milk. And then her reward is after a fraction of a normal lifespan, a quarter of a lifespan at most, she's sent to a slaughterhouse to join her calves that were sent there when they were first born. I like, why would anyone want to pay for an industry that does that to helpless animals?
If practices were different, would you be okay with dairy products then? If it was just the practices were different?
I mean, so like a practice in which the R's.
Let's just say it's 40,000 acres of cows, and they're free to breed and live all they want. But once a week, we'll come out with a truck and we milk a few, right?
Now, just mathematically, you get exponential growth if you weren't killing all the males. So you'd end up, having like hundreds of thousands of cows in a small tract of land. So it wouldn't really work mathematically.
It's just a hypothetical question. I think we're not looking at the feasibility of doing this, but
I'm trying to figure out where the line is drawn.
Yeah,
is it really about dairy, or is it about the treatment of animals?
So I'm uncomfortable with using another animal as any sort of means to an end, but I suppose there are times where you could have a reciprocal relationship with an animal where you're getting something from them and giving something to them that's of equal value. Certainly when someone like adopts a dog from a shelter, saving their life, then they have a sluggishness to the dog. If the dog runs and gets fetches their paper or something, they're getting a benefit from the dog, or the dog defends their house, or even becomes a seeing eye dog. I mean, that's a reciprocal relationship with a dog they rescue. I think that's a fine relationship with an animal. It's a little more sketchy.
So it'd be like okay for
this hypothetical cow.
So it'd be okay for me to have my own cow and take care of my own cow, just a cow. So I'd have time and the ability to take care of it and make my own cheese and milk the cow and make my own butter. That would be okay with you.
And keep all of the males alive in a big pasture, because she has to be pregnant in order to have a baby, in order to give milk. So she'd have a calf every year. So you'd have to keep all those.
It doesn't work that it doesn't. I thought it worked the same way as it did with humans. As long as you kept milking them, they would keep giving milk. That's they have with human people, they don't have to have a baby every year to keep giving milk, as long as they just never stop giving milk. That's how midwives, made money throughout the medieval times.
Yeah, no, that's
that, right?
True. I mean, no one ever. Yeah, I have heard that. Well, that doesn't happen just because in the dairy industry, just because it's a very inefficient process. So I haven't really seen that firsthand myself. That sort of practice of kind of keeping a cow around for a long time. I'm just trying to stretch their milk out, even if it's not as prolific as it was. I mean, these cows been bred to produce way more milk than they really should have to, and that makes them, prone to things like mastitis and I guess I don't like, it makes me kind of uncomfortable with this idea of having a cow like this, but I definitely think that in the spectrum of behaviors, you could probably do that and maybe still consider yourself a decent person. So maybe that's the exception that proves the rule.
Because it seemed to me like when in your description of your problem, as Justin pointed out, thank you, Justin, it seemed like your problem really was with the industry and the way the animals were treated.
Well, yeah.
What about eggs?
It's also that, eggs is similar to the dairy. Like they sex the way they hatch all of these eggs, then half of them are females and half of them are males, and the males go in a conveyor belt and ground up alive. And so where's the dairy industry?
The eggs we eat are unfertilized, though, right? So they're just laid eggs.
Right.
Yeah, that's not egg
industry. I'm talking about hatchery. So so in the same way that 9 to 10 million male calves are killed on nearly the first day of life because they're excess to the milk industry, about 7 to 8 billion little baby male chicks are either suffocated in a big bag or put into a macerator the moment they're hatched, because they're not useful to the egg industry. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you're paying for when you buy eggs, in addition to all the suffering that the females go through, which is substantial. But the eggs themselves,
so what
not fertilized. So
where do we draw the line between like sentience or consciousness and non-sentience or consciousness?
Well, some vegans will kind of disagree with how much emphasis I put on this. But for me, I'm very, I think that the fact that birds and mammals in particular have been shown to be able to express, very complicated emotional states like grief and love. Mm-hmm. It's very, I feel like our first step should be eliminating all of our impact on birds and mammals. I still think that, we don't know a lot about fish, and science is kind of suggesting that fish are capable of feeling pain and maybe other complex emotions too. I think we should err on the side of caution when it comes to fish, even if I'm not as confident that they're capable of by their deaths, losing the opportunity to experience the sort of transcendental, feelings of joy and love that, that you and I make our lives worth living. I don't know if fish are able to experience that sort of thing, but I think they might be able to. So I leave them alone.
Yeah,
Now insects.
I've seen research that kind of goes. I've seen research that seems like it goes both ways. It from what I've seen, it seems like humans and fish are a lot alike. Some of them are sentient and some of them aren't. So.
Well, yeah. So
I've definitely. I'll let you know that I definitely, in my mind, have had a lot of hard thoughts. On at the very least, say dropping pork from my diet because of, pigs are incredibly intelligent. And I am a dog person, and I've heard that like pigs are smarter than dogs. So I've definitely had those long hard thoughts, but I feel like I'm just like, I don't want to say I'm a victim of my generation, but um, I'm a Canadian, so I've had caribou, I've had so many different types of meats like moose and deer and stuff too, and um, I like it. Like it's my primary source of my diet. But if I'm ever lucky enough to have a kid of my own someday, and they come to me and they're vegetarian or vegan, hey man, let's do it. You got my full support. Do whatever we can to keep that going, because like I said, I think the future does at the very least lie in vegetarianism, but I'm not 100% sure that. I mean, you make a great case as far as the dairy thing with killing the male calves and stuff, but I'm sure genetics will get to a point where we can just choose which sex we need and want, and hopefully we can stop that practice, so that we can still have chocolate milk, because I like chocolate milk.
I know.
I think
we were
nowadays
talking about,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Go ahead.
interrupt. Oh well, I mean, I was gonna
No, go
say
ahead.
that nowadays. Oh, can you hear me still? Hello.
Yeah. I
Hello?
was just going to say, go ahead. You're the
Oh, I'm
guest. I
sorry.
want you to talk first.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, cool. Well, just please interrupt me if I'm going on too long, because I tend to ramble sometimes. And I think that
Oh, I
there are
will.
really some great alternatives. Oh, you good. All right. And there are great alternatives now to like chocolate, like stuff like chocolate milk that tastes amazing. But what I really want to focus on is this idea of being kind of really like addicted to something, like consuming like an animal product. And I understand addiction because I have a lot of behavioral addictions myself. It's why I spend a lot of time doing Buddhist meditation. I just finished a 20-day silent meditation retreat. And I find that like it's really helpful to kind of just sit there and sort of focus your attention on yourself, but really kind of clear your mind, have full control of your mind. And I think that this is the way that we can overcome our addictions, is by having total peace and clarity of our mind. And what they teach you in these practices is that you can't have a clear mind. You cannot find wisdom if you are behaving in an immoral way. And as I said before, I think that the worst thing we can possibly do is take advantage of someone that's helpless to us. So I feel like the best way to overcome like an addiction like that is to really make yourself aware of how horrible it is for these animals. And then it will be like lifting up like this like kind of the shell that you didn't even know you had. It's a liberating feeling. It doesn't require any sort of willpower at all. You just have to think about the victims. It's really easy. Sorry, that's a babble.
I'm curious about something. I want to ask you a question, if I may. Would you consider a vegan diet for a dog cruelty to the dog, or are you one of those people that think that like even our pets could live a vegan lifestyle?
Yeah, the data is now showing that dogs in particular can thrive on a vegan diet. In fact, the two did I actually flip off? Are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh! I thought I clicked you off.
We're here.
Yeah. So the oldest two living dogs on record are the ones that were actually vegan-fed dogs or plant-based dogs. So for dogs, it's nothing. Cats is more difficult, but recent data is now showing that if you're careful and make sure they have enough taurine, you can also feed cats a plant-based diet as well. And I have had success in doing that myself. Now, as far as you have to watch out for stones and crystals and stuff like that. Like, you can have a blockage, especially with male cats. So you have to, monitor what you're doing, because you don't want to acidify their urine or make it too basic. You have to watch their levels.
Yeah,
but
it's the same if as a human becoming a vegan, you have to monitor like crazy all of your intakes and vitamins and things, right?
Well, no, that's more cats. We're omnivores, and I think it's a lot easier for us to really be flexible. We're pretty flexible when it comes to this stuff. We only need a B12 supplement, and that's it. But cats is a little more difficult, but it's definitely doable. snakes, I don't think that there's a way of doing it with snakes. So that's a bit of a hard one for like snakes. The dogs and cats, sure.
Actually, I've recently heard about snakes becoming a possibility for like a new popular protein because they breed a lot heavily and quickly. And I've never had the meat myself, but I do know some people who love snakes, and even they struggle with that whole concept because they're huge snake fans, but they're also meat fans. So they're definitely on the fence.
Okay. Well,
Is there
I
a
guess we
certain
don't know how to feed them.
is what I always wonder is usually veganism is a moral thing, and it's about sentience, right? Like you've been saying, sentience or consciousness. So is it, and that's why people think it's okay to eat a plant, even though it's still alive, because it has no sentience or no consciousness, at least that we know of at this point. I mean, there are a few signs, like trees creating antibodies if a tree on the other side of the grove develops a disease. So we know they're communicating with each other somehow. But I'm wondering, where is it that we draw the line with animals, with sentience? Like as you said, pigs, cows, birds, those are things that most people eat and are familiar with. But what about other things like shrimp? I mean, I don't think a shrimp shows any sign of sentience. Is it okay to eat shrimp, or?
I think the one the vegans mostly debate about is mollusks, because mollusks don't have such a nervous system. And some talk about jellyfish, that there's neural nets, so who knows what they're experiencing. I think certainly I think if someone were to eat oysters and other mollusks, I think they can make a reasonable case that they're avoiding eating sentient animals. I think it's a little bit harder for animals with central nervous systems, including the shrimp. I mean, bees are remarkably capable of doing cognitive tasks that you would never imagine, like ants seem to recognize themselves in mirrors, and bees are able to engage in metacognition studies where they kind of know what they know. They actually make reasonable predictions upon how good they are at a task, which is kind of wild. That means they have to wager on their answer, and they do it. And so I don't know, I'm not comfortable with really exploiting any of these animals. That doesn't mean that I think they're all on the same level. In a burning building, I'm not, I'm going to, save a person, a human or a dog over a bee or a fish.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Just because, just as Justin pointed out before, I don't think they're all on the same level, but I do wonder, where can we draw these lines at? And that's what I don't know if you recall me mentioning Loki's wager, or if you know anything about it, but that's basically what it is when we have to draw a line somewhere and we don't know where that line is, how do we know? How do we know what's okay to eat in this case? If we all became vegans and we all decided not to eat sentient things, how do we know what we can and can't eat? Who's going to decide that? That's what I'm wondering. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to I don't know, throw a monkey wrench into the works, I guess, to point out what some of the problems that we might have with it in the future.
So I actually have kind of, I think, a clever response to this, which is that we take cues from the legal system when, especially the idea of juries have to be, you have to find that someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt before you condemn them to death. If we took something like that from them, then it would be the same question. Are we sure beyond a reasonable doubt that this individual is not sentient? And if we are sure beyond a reasonable doubt, maybe for an oyster, I'm certain beyond a reasonable doubt that an oyster is not sentient, and therefore I can send them to death without being concerned that I'm wrongfully doing so. Similar as sending and all of these animals, we have science and studies, and you'd have committees that really determine what is the likelihood that this being is capable of sentience, is capable of love, and then make our determinations similar as we would for criminal cases. That's kind of how I think we should do it.
Okay, Justin, you got some feedback on that idea?
I mean, I think if I summarize the whole conversation, veganism is definitely more of like a moral point of view and less about diet, as opposed to like where vegetarians generally are just trying to be healthier. I don't know that as a society we'll ever completely get to veganism unless we can grow certain things in a lab, like animal byproducts in that case. I mean, if a cheetah can have an antelope, can I have a cow? Like, is it okay? Uh,
I mean,
I'm a
cheetahs
carnivore.
do a lot
In
of things,
in that respect, yeah, I'm just saying. Now, if I had to go Kelley's route, where I had to kill my own meat, and there's no way I could never do it. There's just no chance. So I'd probably would starve. To be completely honest.
I mean, look, I don't think so. I mean, especially not nowadays. And look, we live in a civilized world, and we don't take our moral cues from lions. I mean, they will take over pride and kill all the babies and force the females to mate with them so they can have no genetic offspring. That's actually something humans do. Actually, stepfathers are 70 times more likely to be responsible for the death of their stepchild than biological fathers are. And it's like what lions do. It's like if you kill a non-related offspring, then your genes will survive. But if that stepfather went in court and said, "Your Honor, this is what lions do," so I should be fine with killing this, killing my stepchild, they'd be laughed out of court. They had the book thrown at them. So we can't use the fact that, other animals prey upon, the animals that they're stronger than them as a justification for humans to act that way. I think we're beyond that, right?
Well, you could say that some humans are on the same, using the same argument. You could say that some humans are murderers, so you shouldn't act like a human.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what it is to act like a human. I mean, what does it even act like a lion? I mean, you should look up. There's a lioness named Kamuniak that adopted all these oryx calves. She wouldn't kill the baby oryx calves, so she actually starved herself to death protecting this pride of oryx calves that she collected. She wouldn't kill them, So what is it to be a lion? I mean, she was very gentle to those babies.
I mean, I consider myself part of that food chain and at the apex of that food chain, and part of that chain for me is meat. It will always include meat, and I mean that's just going to. But I'll tell you what, I've heard the stories even before you've brought them up here about the industry and how it functions, and I don't like it. But me going vegan to go up against it and protest against it isn't really a path for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, Nick, I have really enjoyed this call. I really have. I think, yeah, I think we've had a really good conversation here. I really do. And unfortunately, I hear these conversations turn a bit acrimonious too often. So I really appreciate you calling. And honestly, I think you should call back and talk to Dan sometime, our regular host here. Dan is, in fact, a vegan.
Oh,
so I think, yeah, so I think maybe having this yeah, I think try to call back when he's on.
I was warned.
I do have some calls stacking up in the queue though, so I want to move on.
Yeah, no,
but I do want to
so
encourage you to call back again.
You guys are great. I loved it. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I'll certainly take you guys up on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. You've been a great caller. I really appreciate it. So have a great night. And again, I hope you do call again. I really appreciated that call. That was a good one.
It's a topic that I've always thought about. Like I am generally like on their side, if you will. I can't. I couldn't go that route. It's too extreme for me. But I encourage it. I support it. I even ran a sandwich shop. And did you know that olives are normally not vegan?
I didn't know that about olives. I know that about figs are often not vegan.
Yeah. Olives are normally stored in like a lactic acid, which is just another animal byproduct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had a customer. I would specifically like have because you can get olives stored in like olive oil. They just don't have the same shelf life or something like that. So I would stock these other olives for this one customer I would get once a week,
Wow.
just because he was vegan.
We do have calls stacking up, but before we get to calls, I do have a few announcements to make. One of them is you can get merch. Yes, you can get real merch from Truth Wanted at tiny.cc/merch ACA. There's t-shirts, hoodies, mugs. There's one up there, and hats. You can get all kinds of cool stuff there. So check it out. And if you want to hear all of our content in audio form, please visit at tiny.cc/AEN podcast for all the latest ACA shows, all of the good ones, all 4 of them. So go check it out. And you heard me thank all the patrons on Patreon earlier today, but I also wanted to tell you another way to support us is by sending super chats. We will get them, and if they are readable, we will read them on the air. And as usual, if we get a super chat, I will do a super truth. I'll just stop whatever we're doing unless one of unless the caller's talking. I don't like to interrupt callers, but we will stop what we're doing and we will give you a super truth if you send us a super chat. And very last, but also very not least, I want to thank the crew. Let's get the crew cam up. Let's see everybody out that's up behind the scenes. 2 people. Come on, crew. I know there's more of you back there than that, you shy guys hanging out in the dark there. So there's a handful of people, a large group of people that keep this show working, that are always working in the background that you don't see, and those are the real heroes of this show. So I want to give, shout them out to them and thank them a lot, because without them, I totally would not be here, because I have no idea how to do what they do. So thank you very much, guys. All right, you ready for another call?
Absolutely. I just want to throw my thanks into that for the crew as well, because this is my first time over here. This has been a voyage too, right? Like I've been watching you guys do this program for years, and so like I feel like this is the foot in the door moment. But man, that crew behind the stage, the part that the audience doesn't get to see, they are working hard. Like I had many meetings and different setup talks with them and all kinds of things that they're working really, really hard to give, not just to give a show, but to raise the bar for quality of the program.
Yes, definitely. You can never talk too much or too good about the crew. They're freaking awesome. So I do have another caller, and I think we're going to like this one. It's Robert, him calling from California, and he wants to talk about UFOs and UAPs.
All right.
Let's bring him on. Hi, Robert. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you well. Thank you for having me. You guys talking about the people, the crew backstage. In fact, you're right about that. They're really attentive about the callers. I was waiting for a little bit, and they kept checking on me, make sure I was okay. So they were very helpful and motivating. In fact, they are hardworking.
We've got the best call screeners in the business, I think.
Well, I agree. I appreciate their help and their attention. So I wanted to share with you guys what's going on with me. So it's currently going on. So growing up, I have experienced. I think we all have experienced those moments in life that are questionable, where something happens and you can't explain it, but something's just out of the ordinary, but yet you don't know how to explain it. It was too fast. Your mind plays tricks on you and it goes away. But for the first time in my life, I'm experiencing something that has been carrying about for a year or two, almost 2 years. So I work at this yard, right? It's a big yard. I'm a security at night. And this yard is right in the center and between the ridge of the San Andreas Fault here in California and the coastline. So I can see the sky
Mhm.
over the ridge, and I can see the sky over the ocean. Now, it just so happens that right where the ocean is, there's also a power plant. So, one day I was sitting, I do my walk around the yard, and then I sit down for a little bit, and I was just looking, gazing into the sky, because, the stars were clear, like the stars were sparkling and everything. And then I saw this like fireball. I just saw this fire in the air, like at 2, 3 in the morning. So I looked at it, and, probably about, I don't know, like probably about no more than 100 feet from the ground, about probably a mile away from me. So, and it was, so it was dark, so I could see it well. And I was curious about that, and it turned off, and I figured maybe somebody's doing some sort of fireworks or something. So I kept looking in that direction, and suddenly I saw two. But then when they started moving around each other and up and down, like the way I can describe it the best is picture two kittens playing with each other. How they approach and jump and go up and down. So kind of like that, but it's floating in the air. These two fireballs, okay? So
Mhm.
I walk towards that direction as soon as I can get. I try to record it with my phone. And, I have a low quality phone, and I was very disappointed that I didn't catch anything. So finally, I just came back and I sat down, and I was trying to see if my video was good, but it was not. So I was disappointed. And I went on to YouTube to watch a couple videos, and this is amazing because the video that popped up, it was a YouTube short, where a girl was recording the same thing I just saw. You see what I'm saying? That is amazing. I could not believe myself sitting there, and the short that popped up in my phone was exactly what I had just witnessed. So that was it, right? Now the next day, I was looking for this big. Of course, you're gonna be like, "Well, I wonder if they're there." Well, in fact, they were. So to make it short, ever since, I've been seeing them almost every day. So I was talking to this other guy, this coworker, and I told him, if I see them again tonight, I'm gonna drive over there because I see them no more than 3 to 5 miles away. So,
Right.
So when I was ready to go. I purchased a better quality phone and stuff. Not so much high quality, but better, a little better. And so I was ready to go record, and I never saw them. They never. I was never. So I was like, okay. I was tired of waiting, and I went around to do my walk as usual, and the thing was above me. It was above me, okay, and probably about, I don't know, probably about, picture a building of 15 stories, probably about that height. And so it's basically like a basketball burning, okay? And so I looked up and I recorded it, and this time, since it was close, I was able to capture it. So I was there capturing it, recording it. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
I was gonna say I had a bunch. We've been going on for a while, and I just had a lot of questions. You were talking to somebody you work with about it. Have they seen the lights?
Well, yeah, I showed them. I had showed them the night before.
No, but you showed them the video, but have they themselves seen the like when you went up and said, "Hey, man, I seen these lights"? Did they go, "Oh yeah, I saw those too," or have they seen them independently of you? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. He said that he had noticed it before.
Okay. That's one of my questions.
About it.
Now, have you ever heard of there's a few places in the country that I know of where lights like this have been reported. I don't know if you know any of these places. Coal Mountain, West Virginia, Paulding, Michigan, Marfa, Texas. Those are three that come right off the top of my head. But people have been experiencing lights very similar to what you're describing for decades. right? So I was wondering if you had ever heard of any of these places as well.
I had not before, but I know that lately, especially within this past few months, they have been very common. If you go on YouTube and you look at fireballs in the sky, you're gonna find an immense amount of videos with the same subject. So it's been more common. However, you know, growing up, when I was a child, I am from Mexico. So growing up, I remember my grandpa talking to his friends about a fireball that appeared to them in the mountains, and they would say that it was a witch. That's what they would say. It was a witch. And I asked my grandpa, "What is it?"
But it was probably a meteor, right?
Fireball. No, it was.
Have you ever seen a meteorite? Like a meteorite that's in the low atmosphere is a big fireball, right? I've actually seen one land before, so I'm thinking that what they saw was probably not a witch, but just a meteorite.
No. I'm certain that they saw the same thing that I see, because the way they described it, the movement and what it did, and they would come back. You know, I was a child back then, so I couldn't make much sense of it, but I remember it clearly because those types of stories you never forget. And then they mentioned, I remember one of my grandfather's friends mentioned that to one of his brothers that the fireball had actually landed on top of his car. You know, these are like crazy stories, but when you're a child, you kind of like them. So, but you know, I never forgotten.
Yeah.
And now that I'm witnessing these things, I know what's going on. However, this story goes further, because when I took the video of this thing, it was above me close. I sat down and I kept watching the video. I kept just looking at it, and I was messing with the settings, trying to make it more, see if I could get better clarity, more crisp. So I was changing the colors and the hues and everything.
I want to jump in here for a sec, if I can, real quick.
Yeah, please do.
So, Robert, there's something really interesting that you're doing here that I'm fascinated by, and you're telling us the story, and it's cool and it's interesting and all that stuff, but you haven't told us what you think it was, which is, I think, kind of important and worth pointing out, because by now somebody would have been like, so there must be aliens. Like, they would have made some kind of claim, but you're not really giving us any claims. You're just telling us about fireballs in the sky, which for me, it's very common. It's not unusual. Even you said you can go on the internet and you can find all kinds of people reporting seeing fireballs in the sky and stuff. So my question to you, Robert, is what do you think it is? Or do you even have a hypothesis on what it could be?
I have a hypothesis, and I have the proof because I have the videos. I have several videos that I've taken a long time. The good.
Well, so, let's see if your videos are actually proof of your hypothesis.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you how I got my.
What's the hypothesis?
I don't know what they are exactly, but I have.
No, I don't want to know how you got the hypothesis. Just tell us what it is.
Yeah. What do you think they are? What do you think these lights are?
Okay, I'll tell you like this. I saw a video. So let me explain to you like this. Trust me, hear me out. It's worth it. So the video that I took, the best video, the close-up, the closest video that I took, it was above me. So I was messing with the settings, trying to see if I can get a crisper image, and I was zooming in and working with the video. And so I was able to kind of like on one of the settings, I was able to kind of like highlight it. It just kind of changes colors and stuff, right? But I was able to see like a structure within the fire. So it wasn't just like a fireball now. It was actually like something in there in the fire. You see what I'm saying? So I kept trying to zoom in, and I couldn't make up what it was. It just looked like a spider. Not exactly like a spider, but picture like a spider, right? Like a structure within the fire, like spider. like a spider.
That led you to a
So
hypothesis.
after a few weeks,
What is the hypothesis?
well, okay, so after a few weeks, I saw a video on X where this guy in Mexico in the airport, he was able to film it, but the video is titled "Finally Someone with a High Resolution Camera." So they filmed this thing in the airport during the daytime. So the guy's resolution is it's perfect. Okay, it's perfect. So he's able to zoom in close up in the daytime. So this thing is not on. It's just like a jellyfish in the air, and you can see it clearly. You can see it's got tentacles, and you can't see what it is really, but it looks like a jellyfish with tentacles. Okay.
So Robert, we're going to ask one more time. What do you think that it is?
Well, it happens to be the same thing because the settings that I moved.
Yeah, but what do you think the same thing is? What do you think the thing is that it's the same of?
It's a jellyfish, and it's a floating jellyfish. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, so that's what we're getting to. You think these lights are? Do you think they are a type of jellyfish that lives in the air that we haven't discovered yet? Oh, is that where we're going?
Could be a marine animal because they say they come out of the ocean. But you know, I don't know what they are. I'm not going to tell what they're. I do not know what they are. But you know, they disappear. They vanish. You know, they go in and out of reality. Is what I'm telling you because that's what my camera captured, and you can see it clearly. You know, I'm putting together the video. I want to compile.
Is it?
And make the video.
Wait. You got bear with me, Robert, because you're saying things and we need clarification. So you got to slow down. You say they're going in and out of reality. Are they going in and out of reality, or are they just, or is the light just going on and off?
Okay, when the thing was flowing up above me, I was recording it, and this thing kept going in and out. You see, so it wasn't like turning off because you can see how it diminishes itself so it becomes kind of small, and it disappears, and then it reappears. But it's like picture like somebody sticking their head in and out of a hole. You see what I'm saying? That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like it turns off. It looks like it goes into it goes into something and it comes out.
Robert, this could be anything. I've been in the Arctic Circle, and I'll tell you the things you'll see in the skies up there, for example, right? Like the Northern Lights, for example. We're also in a day and age where like every day debris will fall to Earth, like man-made debris will fall from Earth. The newest thing that people can spot in the night sky is the Starlink satellite train. You can just look up and just see satellites, and people will tell you they're right above my head, when in actuality they're like hundreds of miles away. Like, so the sky, the atmosphere, the time of day, your location can change the effect of just about anything in the sky, right? You mentioned at the top of your story you were near the San Andreas Fault. I imagine this area you were in is probably a little bit more away from the city. The less city lights you get, the clearer the sky becomes, and you can see things like meteors coming in, and those meteors will break apart and they'll do spirals, and depending on your perspective, where you're standing versus where you see the meteor enter the atmosphere, they might look like they circle each other. There's so many things in the world that could be caused or give you these results or these effects. Now, if you want to start talking that they're jellyfish or creatures that are popping in and out of reality, I wouldn't do that. I liked your story a little bit better before we got into, the what it was, because you don't have the evidence to support that it's some kind of creature that's poking its head in and out of our reality. It's far more likely that, the light shifted or changed or your camera flashed or something like that. And the other thing that I would recommend is stop looking at other people's videos, because it's just going to pollute your results. You've got your own camera, you said, you're getting your own footage, and just enjoy your footage for what it is. Don't start comparing other people's footage, because most of it's fake, or someone is posting these things on the internet that was just a simple meteor entering the atmosphere, but they're going to tell you that it's, you know, aliens crash landing. Like, it's just going to pollute your results. Just post your videos for what they are, with question marks all around, going, hey, this was cool. I don't know what it was. And leave it there.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to
agree.
say
I
something
agree with
similar,
that.
like
So,
don't
I do-
trust YouTube videos.
Yeah. Or X videos.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've made my point.
Okay. Thanks.
I think it's important, Robert, to think about if I'm seeing this thing, what are some explanations for this thing that are normal and mundane that would explain this without jumping to some supernatural thing or something that we don't know about in the world already. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you will
Yes,
find an
I do.
answer that way. I just think it's very important to run through that first
Uh-huh.
before we jump to oh, this is something that I seen in a YouTube video. You know, there are probably
Right.
tons of mundane explanations for that. And I even got a weird explanation for you, because you mentioned the San Andreas Fault. Now, I have a background in geology. I don't know if you know that, but there are
Explains the rocks, I think.
yeah, there you go. But there are some unsubstantiated, unconfirmed sightings of lights in earthquake areas, and especially in days leading up to an earthquake. So that is another possibility and we're not sure if this is, well, number one, we're not sure if this is real, and number two, what's actually causing it. But there's some theories that it might be some form of static electricity that the Earth is creating. So there's something that might be a fantastic explanation. It's also kind of mundane too.
I agree. Nowadays, you have to be accepted, especially nowadays with AI. You know, now you can't even believe a good video because you don't know if it's AI and the technologies. Imagine if we have AI available, what we have available. Imagine what there is like behind the scenes. You know, so it's true. You have to be a skeptic.
Mhm. Oh yeah, totally.
I understand your point. I understand where you guys are coming from. But when I began to speak, when I called, I basically clarified, like, I experienced a lot of things in my life. Well, not a lot, but a few that I can remember. And, you know, they were just fast. You couldn't make up what it is. You can't explain it. So I just remember, I leave it alone. This I have proof. I have extensive videos. Not extensive videos, but I have a bunch of videos.
I believe you have the proof. I believe that, Robert. I don't think you heard what I was saying. I believe you have these videos.
I
I
did hear what you
believe you
said.
experienced something. I'm
Did
not
you?
denying that.
No.
What I'm saying is that
Yeah.
we should
Well,
try
but-
to find an explanation that is normal and mundane before we jump to conclusions. That's all I'm saying.
Well, there are no.
Or
Yeah,
Or-
I understand.
don't try to answer it. And it's way more fun for you as just this magical experience that you had. Share it with the world and let the chat go nuts. But don't let it yourself get carried away with the idea of sky jellyfish and fireball spiders and
No,
things.
guys.
Just it's
Guys.
yeah.
Robert, I have one
No,
more
I'm
call,
not-
and I really
I'm
want
not
to take
telling-
it.
I'm
And the show is actually supposed to be over in 2 minutes, but I really want to take this last call. So I really would love to have it if you'd call us back again, Robert. I love this conversation. I would love to continue it. And even though I'm not here every week, Dan, who is normally here most every week, I know he would love to have this conversation as well. So I encourage you to give us a call back. Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
No,
Thanks,
thank
Robert.
you, Robert. Thank you for calling us. I really appreciate it. That was really an interesting call, I must say.
Yeah.
I do have one more call, and it's from a caller that we all know and love, John from Canada, and he wants to talk about ghosts.
Okay.
So I want to bring him up. John's a perennial favorite caller of mine. I think everybody knows. Hi, John.
I've
How you
spoken
doing?
to John before.
Oh, hi, John. How are you? I'm sorry.
I'm doing
Kelly,
good, John. How are you? I didn't get much of a
How are
chance
you?
to talk to you last week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you too, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, there was. I had two guys on either side of me, and they both wanted to talk, so I just let them go. But I was hoping you'd call me again this week. So it says you wanted to talk about ghosts. What's your take on ghosts?
Well, I'm skeptical about them, but what I find weird is this: Christians will believe in the ultimate supernatural force, which is God, that can control everything, sees everything, hears everything, knows what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and he has ultimate authority and control over the universe. But they won't believe in the spirits of the spirits of deceased people who are still roaming the earth. Don't you find that ironic?
Huh?
Don't you find that ironic?
I personally do. I really do. And I don't, John, John the Skeptic, he's one of our other hosts here. He was raised as a spiritualist. So he wasn't raised as a Christian. So he was raised to believe that he actually could talk to dead people. So that might be a really good conversation for you to have sometime if you call when he's hosting.
Oh, I'll have to do that. Yes. Yeah, I would. But
but you're right. I do and it's I find it really ironic that after I left my what I thought were superstitious religious beliefs, that I still found a lot of the atheists that I talked to that still did believe in ghosts or reincarnation or karma. So just because you stop believing in a God doesn't mean that you gave up that you switched to complete critical thinking or gave up beliefs in supernatural things. So, but you're right, it is totally ironic. So,
yeah, it is. But I find it amazing what weird things we humans are willing to believe in. I think it's attributed to I think that the term is pareidolia, where we see patterns in things that there's
yeah.
Like this
yeah,
whole pattern.
pareidolia.
We establish a pattern. Yeah, that's also
we often in the skeptical world, we often use pareidolia as an explanation for things. And another good explanation for things too, John, is I don't know if you've heard this one, but Littlewood's law. Littlewood was he was an English mathematician. And if something has a 1 in a million chance of happening to you, and you have something happen to you every second of every day, let's just say 8 hours a day that you're awake and totally alert, that after 1 million seconds, you will have experienced 1 million things, and you have a chance of a 1 in a million thing happening to you. And believe it or not, that happens every 34 days or so. So you actually have a chance of a 1 in a million thing happening to you about once a month.
Wow, I never knew that. I never heard that before, ever.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, right? When I first found out about Littlewood's law, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Wow, that's amazing. But
it kind of
fact.
It's a good explanation for really weird coincidences or things that people think are miracles, right? Is that, well, yeah, these things just kind of happen. I don't know how what else to say. They just happen. So
yeah, and okay, I just want to say this one last thing. I also find it amazing that, again, looking for patterns, people make a prayer, the thing happens, but yet the thing that they were trying to make happen, they were already taking steps of doing what they had to make it happen. For instance, if someone prays that they want to quit drinking, but yet they were going to AA meetings, and then when they're done drinking, they'll attribute that to God. But they won't blame God if they pray for something and they don't get it.
Hmm?
You hear what I just said?
Yep.
Anyway, I just wanted to,
yeah. John, I wish we were closer. I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you someday. Just hang out with you. I really wish we were a lot closer. So.
Me too. Anyway, I guess
I'm actually farther north than most people in Canada. I was just telling Justin before the show. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kelley has a bigger snowblower than I do.
Well, anyway, I know the show is coming to an end. I guess you guys need to get going, so I'll let you go. So, nice talking to you. I'll talk to you another time. Okay.
Yeah, John, I always have it's always a pleasure for me to talk to you. Thank you for waiting so long to get on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, you too. I'll talk to you again. Call me back next time I'm on.
Bye, John.
And I know a lot of people have problems with John. I don't know why. John and I have just always gotten along really well. I don't.
I've had a conversation with John in the past, on a different call-in program, and yeah, that conversation. He hung up on me. He ran away.
Yeah.
But I guess he's had some revelations of his own. I hear in the last couple of weeks, or even a month, I guess now.
Yeah. I mean, he's been doing a lot of thinking. He's been doing a lot of hard work on his own. I got to say, I think it shows. I mean, just explaining Littlewood's law, you could see it lit up a bulb. You could hear it lit up a bulb. So yeah, I'm glad
I was watching the Truth Wanted episode with Dan when John called and was like, "I think I'm an atheist because I can't defeat any of your points anymore."
Mm-hmm.
It was something else to hear.
Yeah, it really surprised me after talking to him the way, because he's had a lot of really I'm trying to think of the word, maybe obstinate calls in the past where he was really convinced that he was right. So it's really good to see anybody taking their views that they have, that they've been stuck in, and re-examining them. That's what having an open mind is about, is to be able to look at the things that you totally believe and re-question them. Puppers.
Yeah, sorry. She you can see she kind of just, she can do whatever she wants, and there's very little I can do to stop her.
We're pet friendly at the ACA, so, and here on Truth Wanted, so that's not a problem at all. I don't have I don't have the chat open, but I know everybody's talking about what a cool doggy in the chat. So
yeah, this is Aria. She's a Great Dane. She's just over 4 years old, and I had my door closed. But if you've ever had a Great Dane in your house, you can't keep them out. Like, the doorknob is just within arm's reach for them. So she got in, and yeah, she's probably just wondering where I am. It's walk time, I think.
Well, we're getting near the end here, and I want to thank you, Justin, for being on the show. I want you to again tell us where we can find you at.
Yeah, so I'm over on Skeptic Spinn, and I'm on other channels across the YouTubes as well. So just support the community in general, and we'll cross paths. And if you don't cross paths with me, you'll cross paths with Kelley, or you'll cross paths with Objectively Dan, or Secular Rarity, or who knows. So just go subscribe to all the channels. But I can see my channel right there, Skeptic Spins, in the
cool.
In the title. So go ahead, give it a click, and I'm gonna start putting out some new content in a couple of weeks here. So
nice. We did have one super chat. I did not get to it. What happened during the call, and I kind of spaced it out, but I saw it. It's from Crispin Slit for £2. I don't know if that's real money or not, but I have got a super truth for you. Did you know that the highest point in Pennsylvania is lower than the lowest point in Colorado? That's a pretty good one, I thought.
That's interesting. Yeah. I also
go ahead.
Just to rewind real quick, I just wanted to comment, because I chuckled a little bit inside when You mentioned you had a background in geology when you literally have
A
a
background.
background of geology.
That was,
I was
that
just
was
like,
totally unintended, but that, very
I was
good.
like, oh crap! Look, he literally has a background of rocks.
I had a rock earlier before the show. You know, maybe I'll show it now. Everybody thought it was something else, but it's a fulgurite. If you know what anybody knows what a fulgurite is, it's where lightning hit the sand and the sand melted together into this. So a little interesting thing. And before we go, I want to bring in our amazing, incredible, super awesome backup host, Mr. Scott Dickey. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hey there. Hey there. Good show. Good show. I'm glad we got some interesting variety of calls there. I do want to reiterate something you were saying earlier, Kelley, about how awesome the crew is. You know, last weekend we had the Bat Cruise, and I had a chance to stand in the control room during AXP, and a glitch came up, and they were just on top of it. And you know, our crew is just super awesome, and they really know their stuff. So that's so I just wanted to make sure to reiterate that. But I also wanted to throw in one thing, and I think Justin kind of made a big point of this as well. It's okay to say, I don't know what that is. If you see a light in the sky, it's okay to just enjoy it for that experience. And you don't necessarily have to, not that the caller was specifically saying that they thought it was aliens or anything like that, but you know, it's just, it's okay to have that wonder and that sense of not knowing something. And it kind of it can motivate you to explore and to try to explain it. But you know, if you can't figure it out, then it's better and more honest to just say you don't know rather than to try to give it some meaning. So, so just something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Scott. And they allowed you in the control room during the show. They chased me out with a bullwhip.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm not as much of a troublemaker as you are, or maybe I made my stealth roll.
So before we leave, Justin, you got any words of wisdom for us?
Keep your head up, but keep your stick on the ice. If you're Canadian, get it.
Ooh,
if you're not
like
Canadian,
a true Canadian. Nice one. Nice.
I don't know if I could get any more Canadian than that. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Don't forget, what was our prompt for next week, Scott?
It was, what would Jesus's podcast be named?
Okay, and don't forget, comment down below, not in the chat on the side. And next week, maybe we'll read yours off. And I want to remind everybody to come back next week and always, always keep wanting the truth. Good night, everyone.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.